for Josh Taylor, former undisputed junior welterweight champion, and Jack Catterall, former challenger to that undisputed title. The hate runs deep, and these two are set to face off again, finally, for a rematch of a grudge match. Let's talk about Taylor versus Catterall 2. Taylor versus Catterall 2 is scheduled to take place April 27th. But it was the first go-round that made this coming fight's setup so interesting and highly anticipated. These two men have no love lost for one another, and they are going to put that on display when they face one another. The first meeting saw them in Glasgow, February 26, 2022. They didn't like each other. They wanted to go at each other before the fight. There was disrespect. There were sentiments expressed back and forth between the two because they just didn't like each other. There was grudge. Grudge happens when fighters have disdain for one another and want to prove to the other guy that he can put him under his boot. This is needed in boxing consistently, and we've missed this for a very long time. But when fighters are coming out of the UK, like Catterall and Taylor, they're able to bring us to something that we have a greater appreciation for, and that is simply hate runs deep, which will come up in April with these two men. You see, Taylor was the undisputed champion when he faced Catterall the first go round. Catterall from Lancashire, UK, is a fighter who had waited for his opportunity, and when he was granted that opportunity, he took full advantage. Taylor, who entered in that fight as the champion and from Haddington, Scotland, UK, had a grudge against Catterall. So much to the degree that the fight ended up being fought on Taylor's behalf a bit mindlessly. I had remarked that I had given Taylor at that time on my Thunderous Top 10 list, given him credit for being a heads-up fighter, but he showed none of what I had said about him in that fight. And Catterall, who's now 28-1 with 13 KOs, is in a position to prove the naysayers wrong because of the wrong decision that was meted out after their first fight. I do believe he won that first fight. His efforts were stellar. He dropped Taylor for the first time in Taylor's career. There was a point deduction, and overall, Catterall was able to put on display elements of a fight of showing patience and counterpunching that Taylor, who was extremely aggressive, couldn't deal with overall. Now, both men being southpaws, you could see that Taylor was having a great deal of difficulty in Catterall's southpaw counterpunching stance. When he fought Regis Prograis, it was a bit different because Prograis showed a bit more aggression himself. But Catterall laid traps for Josh Taylor, and you could see where Taylor was having difficulty. So he would just come in with reckless abandon, and Catterall picked him apart. After that fight, in my post-fight, I mentioned that I felt like Catterall looked like a fighter from the 50s, the way he was battling Josh Taylor and taking him apart. Taylor looked awkward. He looked like he was in a hurry. He was rushing his shots, and he was rushing into shots that saw Catterall take full advantage again. So here we are. They're going to face one another for a second time, and Taylor, who is now 19-1 with 13 KOs after dropping a unanimous decision in June of 2023 against Teofimo Lopez, losing his WBO title in that effort, he feels like, I'm finally gonna fight Catterall and get finished with this guy and have it over with. But sometimes revenge, as it has often been said, is a dish best served old and cold. And seeing that there has now been a 2-year gap between these men last faced one another, it's that type of circumstance. And it doesn't favor Catterall to go in there overly aggressive, but I don't think he will. Like I said, Josh Taylor was dropped in that first fight cleanly. And as far as what Catterall does, the patience, which is the way that he fights, and the fact that he throws his punches sharp and well placed. Taylor has been known to balloon in weight between fights. He's kind of undisciplined, and he's getting to be a little older. He's 33 now, and his style has made for wear and tear aplenty. Catterall, who is much more defensive-minded, is 30 years of age. And again, after that decision, he thought before the announcement that he had done everything needed to take care of Josh Taylor and become the undisputed junior welterweight champion at the time. Even the look on Taylor's face when the final bell ended was that of uncomfortability. It was he uncertain if he were going to get that decision. And unfortunately for him, he was awarded that victory. It was the type of situation where we talk about judges and the officiating and scorecards being problematic so much in boxing, now more than ever before. This was a fight that Taylor should have lost. Even his fight against Regis Prograis, some people felt like he could have lost that fight and the decision came favorable for him. And that goes all the way back to October of 2019. A gift decision that many felt that he got, just like against Catterall when they faced each other in February of 2022. A gift decision. But why? Why is this happening so much in the sport of boxing? I don't have that answer, but I will say this. Anytime a fighter is willing to go in for a second go round to prove himself, he's got my vote. And now that Josh Taylor has finally decided to meet Jack Catterall at the table, we're gonna get an answer. But what do you think? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think about hate runs deep. Peace to everyone, and everyone please remain safe.